Hello everyone! So I've shared with you my favorites of the year, so why not share with you my least favorites of the year. So let's just go ahead, knock this disclaimer right on out. If I mention any book that you love, that is awesome. I hope that you love, I'm so glad that you love that book. Just know that I did not like it personally, and that's okay. Everyone can have different opinions and we can still be friends and stuff like that. Everyone has literally different tastes. You wouldn't be you if you didn't have different tastes from me, and that's 100% okay. So yeah, just know, if you loved a book that I did not love, I think that's awesome. I'm glad you loved it. I just didn't, and that's okay. So I have about 9 books, that's a lot, I know, that I didn't really enjoy this year. So without further ado, let's just dive right on it. I'm not gonna slam any of these books. I'm just gonna explain to you why I didn't like them personally. That's just how it's gonna be. Also, a lot of these I don't own anymore because if I don't enjoy a book a lot, it's not gonna be on my shelf. That's just how I roll. Hope that's okay. The first book that I didn't necessarily like at all, really, is Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. I went into this book expecting to be wowed by it, honestly, because everyone loves it. I did not like it. This is about literally stalking Jack the Ripper. It takes place in 1800s. We have a main character named Audrey Rose who is wanting to like pretty much open cadavers and study them and things like that, and she learns about Jack the Ripper and she wants to find him, obviously. And this book I felt was very atmospheric, that is for sure. That's one good thing it has going on for it, but I felt like nothing happened. I really didn't feel a lot of a thrilling aspect of this book. Not a lot of mystery happened. I guess what happened right away, which I think a lot of people could, but I don't think that takes away from the story at all. I just was overall just very kind of bored by this book, and I was very excited for the sequel because it's called Hunting Prince Dracula, which I am a sucker for vampires, but I don't know if I'm going to read that book now because of this book, and I'm glad I read this book first, otherwise I would just right into that one. But overall, I was just very kind of let down by this book. I just didn't love it, and I'm not unpopular opinion here. A lot of people, like I said, love this book. I just not. This book I didn't love, and probably makes me the most upset if I'm honest that I didn't love it, but it is what it is. And that is All the Crooked Saints by Maggie Stiefvater. If you guys know, I love Maggie Stiefvater's writing. I love her books. The Raven Cycle, which is right here, over here, it's one of my favorite series of all time. The writing is so rich and beautiful. And this book was just, I don't even know. This book, I started it confused and I ended it even more confused. It's a book you really have to suspend your beliefs when going into reading it, and it's a book that I just felt could have been a lot better, but overall, it was just downright confusing. This is gonna be so hard to explain. We follow the city in Colorado, and basically miracles happen, and this family can make all these miracles happen, and that's the gist of it. And that's all I can really tell you about it because it's just downright confusing. I felt the writing to be the writing was beautiful. Don't get me wrong. She's a beautiful way with words, that's for sure. But it was just so, like, I felt confused. We went from perspective to perspective, and I was like, I had a hard time grasping who all these characters were. And by the end of it, when I was finally getting a sense of who these characters were, it ended. So, I don't know. This book is definitely very controversial on Goodreads. A lot of people like it. A lot of people don't like it. I definitely fall in the don't like it camp. And I don't know. I just wish... I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it. It's hard to say. I don't want to slam it, but I just didn't like it. The next 2 books I want to talk about are by the same author, and they are Top 10 by Katie Codugno and Fireworks by Katie Codugno. So this was the year I discovered Katie Codugno and read all 4 of her books, and I loved her first 2 published books, How to Love and 99 Days, and I really disliked her recent releases. So Fireworks and Top 10 both got released this year, and I did not enjoy them. I'd say Fireworks is my main letdown for all of her books overall. That was pitched as like a 90s book all about this girl band, and you discover the makings of a girl band, and it was supposed to be fun and lighthearted, and it was just I don't know. It just, not a lot happened. The romance was very lackluster. The characters weren't really that great. The friendship wasn't that great. Overall, it was just a very meh kind of book. And then Top 10, this book about a boy and a girl who are best friends, who've been best friends forever. And the book's called Top 10 because it counts down their top 10 like moments of their friendship throughout the whole high school year. But instead of going like 10 to 1, they'll go from like 8 to top 5, then to 4. And so it was already confusing right off the bat because we would be like, the top 5 moment would be in senior year, fall, and then the 8 moment would be freshman year, spring, and you'd be like, get confused and jumbled. Also, again, her characters are unlikable. I've learned that with Katie Cotugno books, that her characters, in all of her books that I've read, even though I like the first two, I just don't like the characters. They are not very nice people. They're all flawed, much like us. All humans are flawed. And they just don't, I don't know. The friendship in this book really was what made me upset. They didn't feel like it was a genuine friendship. They didn't really care for each other. They did a lot of horrible things, and they developed a romance, and I was like, it was just a hot mess, honestly. So I still like Katie Cotugno's books. Don't get me wrong. I will probably be an auto-buy author for me just because I enjoy the way she writes. It's very simplistic, very fast to fly through, but I just didn't enjoy her two recent releases. They just felt they kind of could have been a lot better. The next book I want to talk about is Girls Made of Glass and Snow by Melissa Barchaldos. This was a Snow White retelling, a very dark retelling of Snow White, and I had really high expectations going into this book, and they were not met. This was very character driven, I will say, which is a good thing about it, but again, I think with the other book I talked about, not a lot happened. There could have been a lot more deception, a lot more deceitfulness, but it didn't happen. I will say I did like how kind of the evil queen and Snow White were a lot different in this book, how they kind of came together and were like rooting together as one, but again, not a lot happened. I thought it could have been a lot better, but it just felt kind of flat for me, so I think that's the first book in the series, and I don't think I will be continuing on with that series. I have The Lion King by Ruth Ware. I think this is Ruth Ware's second time on this list for me. She was on here last year as well. I have read all of Ruth Ware's books, and she's an adult mystery thriller writer, in case you're familiar with her. And this book was her recent release this year, and I didn't enjoy it. I just felt that it was very atmospheric. Again, I'll say that word, and it was. But overall, the mystery was kind of bland. The characters were bland. You could have one guess. You can guess what happened, and I don't think this one was definitely very thrilling at all. It was kind of, I'd say, along the lines of like a family suspense novel, if you will. But it just, I don't know. Ruth Ware is just another author that I really like her writing style, but overall, when it comes to plot and structure, it just kind of falls flat for me. So I don't know. Now I want to talk about The Sandcastle Empire by Kayla Olson. I totally forgot I even read this book because I didn't like it that much. This book, I don't know. Okay, so my thing with this book is at the beginning, like the first half of it, I loved it. I was like, this is a great dystopian book, a dystopian book I've been waiting for a while, because dystopian has kind of fallen out of the YA genre, and I've always loved dystopian. And then when it got past the second half, it just fell apart. It became sci-fi. It became, I don't even know what. Like, it's about this dystopian world where all these people live on this one particular place, and we have a main character, and she finally escapes, and she goes to this island where everything's supposed to be really good, and things obviously are not, and they basically go into like this rainforest type of place, or like a desert. Just this island is insanity. And when you get into this island, just everything that happens, anything that can happen happens, and it just gets confusing. Like, things just go from point A to point like Z to point like W to point like E. It's a big tangled mess of confusion, honestly. And that's the main reason I did not like this book. I was so confused. It started dystopian, it ended up sci-fi, which is not a bad thing, but I don't know how we got there. It went literally like this, so I did not enjoy this book at all. I hate to say that. The book I want to talk about is a contemporary book, and that is Changes in Latitude by Jen Malone. I was very much looking forward to this book. It's supposed to be like a fun, summery read, and it's about this girl that goes on a trip, like a nautical trip, a boat trip, with her mom and her brother, and her mom and dad are just recently divorced, and the daughter's very, very much holding a grudge against her mother because of the divorce, and it shows so much. The main reason why I don't like this book is for the main character. She was horrible. She treated her mom like crap. She treated like everyone around her like crap. She was just overall miserable character to read about. And this book was lengthy. It was long. I want to say it was close to maybe 400 pages. It did not need to be that long. It was just a meh book. The romance was boring. The family structure was kind of boring. The main character was just a horrible person overall. I get that she was a young age, but still, I think I was like, whoa. So yeah, I did not enjoy the book at all. There you have it. Those are the least favorite books I read this year, books that I didn't like. And like I said again, if I mentioned any book that you downright loved and you were like, oh, I cannot believe she hated that book, how dare she? That's okay. That's okay. I'm glad that you loved it. Just know that I didn't. And that is fine by me. I'm so glad you liked it. If there's a book that I love that you hate, I think that's great too. Everyone's got different opinions. You do you, and I will do me, and we could still be BFFs. I hope you enjoyed this. You probably didn't, because I felt like I did a lot of slamming, which is probably a bad thing. But I just have to tell you guys what books I didn't like, because I love talking about books I love, but we also have to talk about books we don't like. And it's okay. Not every book we read is going to be a 5-star. Trust you me, that is not going to always happen. Either way, if you didn't like these books as well, let me know down in the comments. And if you like these books, great. Let's not get in a bashing war in the comments. Just, express your opinion. Be like, I'm glad you hated this book, but I loved it. There we go. And if you like this video somehow, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more bookish content from me every single week. And I will see you guys in my next video, where I promise not to bash the books. I promise. Bye, guys.